Okay. Okay. Hello, everyone, and thank you all for joining. Welcome to ConnecTra's Perspective series on navigating friendships with a disability. I'm your host today. My name is Jasmine. I'm the Assistant Program Coordinator at ConnecTra Society, and I'll be the one asking questions and also fielding all of your questions today for Peter. If you require closed captioning, please make sure to enable them on Zoom. And before we begin, I want to let everyone know that this event is being live streamed, so feel free to turn your camera on or off. We're very excited to have an open dialogue here today and to answer as many of your questions as we are able to. You are all free to ask questions in the chat, and if you would like to ask a question verbally, please raise your hand on Zoom. Before we introduce our panelists for today, I will first be showing you a short video about ConnecTra's regular and upcoming programming. So I will now share my screen and show you that video. Okay. 1 second.
ConnecTra creates opportunities for people living with disabilities by providing information, resources, and programming geared towards greater inclusion and quality of life. Check out some of the programs we offer through our online learning platform, Connect Together, including our Service Mondays, where we highlight a local organization or initiative. Wednesday Chair Yoga with Bobby Seal-Kobiski. Thursday Adapted Fitness with Megan Williamson. Friday Rotating Dance Classes hosted by Janice Lawrence and Joanne Cuff. And other initiatives, including presentations by the Disabled Independent Gardeners Association's Growable program and our Perspective series. Check out our updated programs calendar on our website, ConnecTra.org, or find us on Facebook at ConnecTra Society.
Okay. Thank you, everyone. And now I'll introduce our panelists for today. So everyone, this is Peter Chisholm, and he is the Peer Program Coordinator at SciBC for the North Shore and Sea to Sky Corridor. Peter has a love for the world of outdoor recreation and was injured in a 2009 whitewater kayaking incident, which resulted in a spinal cord injury. Peter, can you please tell us more about yourself?
Oh, yeah, that's a good summary. I live in Lynn Valley over in the North Shore. I recently took on the Peer Program Coordinator position with Spinal Cord Injury BC. In October of last year was when I started. And prior to that, I was a youth outreach worker with the District of West Vancouver. So I provided support to young people and their families living in West Van. And yeah, that's a quick summary of me.
Okay. Thank you for introducing yourself. So, Peter, the first question that I would like to ask you is, how has your injury affected the meaning of friendship for you and the value of friendship in your own life?
Oh, that's a good question. I think if you would have asked me pre-injury, what are my most important priorities, I would have said probably pushing myself in the various sports that I was participating in. So whitewater kayaking, mountain biking, backcountry skiing. I was 43 at the time that I got injured. So, I mean, what pushing myself, even that was starting to change. I was, prior to that, I was really pushing hard to become very competent in those activities. When I was injured, I quickly realized that actually wasn't the most important part of my life. It was actually my relationships with my family and my friends. I guess it took a spinal cord injury for to help me clarify like the most important things in my life, and that's clearly those relationships.
Absolutely. And um, I'm assuming that you also spent some time with your friends while doing those sports and different activities. So did your injury affect the way that you navigated your friendships in those areas and just participating in sports in your life?
Yeah, I mean, the way I participate in sports has changed. So I still love to get out and do activities, but obviously I'm a C7 quadriplegic, so I don't go whitewater kayaking anymore. So that's changed. But I still do connect with a lot of the people that I used to do those activities with. And it's lovely to be able, particularly my main activity or hobby is adaptive cycling. And so going on bike rides, afternoon bike rides with friends is one of my favorite things to do.
That sounds really fun. I should probably go cycling more. And what makes a meaningful friendship for you?
Prior to coming on today, I was thinking about just that, and on the weekend, on Friday, I got an email from a friend, a close friend, that hey, let's get together for sushi. And I got kind of excited. I had this little like, hey, cool, great, and sort of thinking about that. And his first name is Ian, and Ian and I have been friends for a long time. And I was thinking about what about Ian makes it so that I'm excited to go and see him. And I think it's there's mutual respect and trust that's been built up over many years. And we have a lot in common. So the conversation is always interesting, and we share the same kind of at times, sometimes warped sense of humor. So it can kind of be fun. And yeah, I think that's what I think about.
Yes, I agree. I think that having that common ground is so important in a friendship, as well as the mutual respect and trust that you mentioned. And I'd also love to learn more about how your friendships have impacted your life, especially your transition from pre-injury to now having your spinal cord injury.
Well, I think having a spinal cord injury, everything, all my personal care takes longer. It occupies more of my time. And as I've gotten older, I find that my energy levels kind of decrease throughout the day. I have neuropathic pain as a result of my injury, and that can sometimes be quite kind of occupies a lot of space in my brain because I'm in pain, and that can get worse as the day goes on. So oftentimes I'm not in the mood to connect with people, so I can be a little bit isolated, although I don't mind solitude. That doesn't bother me, spending time by myself. But if I'm looking to connect with people, it's probably not going to be in the evening. I'm not looking to go out to like rock and roll shows anymore. Once upon a time, I used to like to do that. I'm probably more, as I was saying, like to connect on a nice afternoon bike ride or go for a cup of coffee. Occasionally, maybe I'd like to go out and go to a movie. But I also like to think about that concept of sort of that give and take within relationships with your friends, and being available to my friends when they have needs as well. And I think that's part of what makes being a good friend, being a good listener.
And how do you think that your injury now has affected the way that you are able to provide care for your friends, or the experiences that you've had post-injury. How has that helped you become a better friend in some aspects?
Well, one of the advantages is nobody calls me up anymore to ask me to help them move. So that's just not a thing for me. But yeah, I mean, I'm always interested in how things are going with their family, how their family life is going. I like spending time with their kids, and I don't know, just being somebody that'll be somebody that'll listen and talk about, all the challenges that life presents us with. Why does gas cost so much? Why are my vegetables so expensive?
If you find out the answers to those questions, let me know.
I'm sure everybody would be very interested. Yeah.
Yeah, I think becoming friends with each other's families is such a great way of just, building that closeness as well. Do you have any advice for people who are struggling to make friends? Things that they should look for or expect or avoid in a friendship?
Yeah, I think having good personal boundaries is really important. Like, if somebody's asking you to do something you're not comfortable with, a good friend will understand if you say no, I'm not comfortable doing that. That'll be respected. Think if somebody starts pressuring you, that's maybe a red flag. It is for me. When you think about like those people you like spending time with, like what about that person attracts you to spending time with them? I think oftentimes people that are good listeners make for good friends, and so I often think about trying to be a good listener.
Mhm. Can you tell me more about just personal boundaries and friendship, and maybe how if the way that you've navigated personal boundaries might have changed after sustaining your injury, or maybe if the personal boundaries you had to enforce changed because of that and affected any friendships?
Yeah, I mean, I think sometimes, and I think part of being a good friend is being reliable. But there's times when I've had stuff come up that is just going to prevent me from connecting with a friend. Things have changed for me, and so as much as I've just said being reliable is important, I think I've needed my friends to be understanding and flexible with me, and when I'm available to spend time. Like I was saying, some things take me longer to do. So that window of time I might have in my day to connect with friends is smaller. Yeah, hopefully that's making some sense. And
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. And before I ask my next question, I just wanted to also mention that all of the participants who are watching today are also free to ask your own questions or to raise your hand and talk about your own experiences. This is, an open discussion. We'd really love to hear more from you as well as we go forward. And another thing that I wanted to know more about is how has your work experience as the peer program coordinator affected the way that you might view friendships or see how people with disabilities and injuries navigate their own friendships?
Well, I think having a disability can be quite isolating, and so that's what I've seen in my role. As I was saying, I've coming in October, I'll have been a peer program coordinator for about a year, and part of the job is to reach out to people that haven't been connecting with SCIBC for a while, just to check in with them. And I know that a number of people are quite isolated and have challenges, connecting in a social way. And we're social animals. So that's a really important part, I think, of our emotional and mental health, is to have good relationships. I think we're on Zoom today, and I would point out that SCIBC have an excellent online platform for people to come and connect in a social way online, which is, I think, COVID kind of accelerated that. I think in our society, the online connections became more common, and I think are a great way for folks that have trouble getting out, connect online.
Do you have any other advice for people with disabilities who are feeling isolated and want to connect with people more?
Yeah, I think, well, I know for me, my work life has really given me a wonderful opportunity to connect with people. I think if you're not working, you might want to consider volunteering somewhere for an agency or a business that appeals to you. And you'll have connections with people throughout that kind of an experience. It might be an opportunity to make friends.
And have you had any volunteer experiences yourself that's allowed you to make more friends and develop those connections?
Well, pre-injury, many years ago, I volunteered with the Harvest Project, and that's a local charity on the North Shore. Their motto is a hand up, not a handout. So they provided some employment counseling, some food, a small food bank service, and clothing and so on. And my job was very simple. I would drive around to different grocery stores and pick up the food and bring it back. And but I got to meet all the people at the Harvest Project, and what a wonderful group. Post-injury, I actually I'm still volunteering with the District of West Vancouver. I started a board games group back in the day when I was working there, and I decided I love board games. It's fun. It's a very social thing to do, and so I still volunteer with that program that I started, and now somebody else is running, and I'm just a volunteer, but gives me an opportunity to connect with people.
Can you tell us more about that idea of a hand up and not a handout, and how that might apply to interabled friendships?
Yeah, I think for me, the idea of a hand up, not a handout, was if there's more dignity and there's more respect in the idea of hand up. Everybody needs a helping hand from time to time. We all do. I don't think there's any shame in that. And so, receiving that support that allows you to then go on and carry on in your life is great. Perhaps versus a handout, which is like a one-time gift that doesn't empower you.
So I feel like, especially for friendships, it's so important to develop those kind of like long-term connections, and as you said before, build that mutual trust and mutual kind of respect. It looks like a lot of the friendships that you've been talking about so far are ones that have been with you for a long time. Have you found it difficult or maybe just different, trying to make new friends after sustaining your injury?
Yeah, I think, I would say that it's probably, I am definitely more oriented to connect with those long-term friends that I've had. However, I would say this on that idea, that as a person living with a disability, one of the things that attracted me to Spinal Cord Injury BC is I wanted to connect with other people that were living with a disability. And I've been very fortunate to be connecting them through work. So it's a little bit different than friendships, but kind of not really in another way. It's just, meeting people where they're at. And I am learning so much from the people in the disability community. I didn't realize how isolated I was from that community in my previous job. Most people I was around in every day were able-bodied. I didn't really think much of that. I mean, people are people, but connecting with people that have disabilities, there's kind of more of a peer relationship, and yeah, we have a lot in common.
Absolutely. Can you tell us more about that? What kind of things do you have in common, and what has, forming those kind of friendships and connections meant for you?
Well, I think one of the topics that often comes up is like dealing with personal care, dealing with the topics of the bathroom. And that's often an area that people with disabilities might have challenges in, and I do from time to time. So yeah, just talking about sort of the nuts and bolts of personal care, and also about the challenges in community, accessibility. We're very lucky, I think, in the Lower Mainland for the most part. Like the built environment is reasonably accessible, but not always, and not in all areas. And certainly, encountering people that maybe don't understand what inclusion for a person with a disability looks like, and finding ways to educate and inform.
Mhm. I think I've heard that some of the struggles that some people might encounter, especially if they used to not have a disability and then sustained one, later on in life, is just kind of navigating, just that educating and informing of their friendships, their longtime friendships, about what their new life looks like now that they've sustained an injury or developed a disability. How do you think, building those connections with other people with disabilities has created maybe a safe space for you to just, live like your new life without having to explain the things that are different?
Well, and I think that's, you hit on a very important concept, where it's when I'm around people that are living with a disability, I really don't have to explain, my lived experience, because they get it. And I think that there's something really powerful about that, that just that shared experience can really enhance, you can become, it can really accelerate that ability to become close friends.
Absolutely. And what advice would you give for people who do not have disabilities but are friends with people who do? How would they be able to better support their friends and be there for them, and just maybe help ease the load of having to be informed and educated, and whatever kind of mental exhaustion that might incur over time?
Yeah, I guess, well, one of the things I started doing with my friends and family and people I'm around is to let them know that as far as like my physical ability goes, if I need help, I will ask them for help. So I'm trying to take the guesswork out of it for people, particularly able-bodied people, because my experience has been people want to be helpful, and they may not know what that looks like. And I don't want them to have to guess as to, should I help him up this curb cut, or, you know, should I see if he's dropped something, should I pick that up for him? So my general rule is, if I need help, I'm going to ask for it, to try and help people with boundaries.
Okay, well, I think that's a pretty good and easy rule to remember. Do you have any kind of new tips or tricks that has helped you make friends post injury?
I think probably asking good questions. You know, that the whole idea of asking an open-ended question. So the what, how, kinds of questions where, you know, what was that like for you? The kinds of questions you're asking me that kind of, you know, get that conversation going. And sometimes I can fall into the trap of, I'm thinking about, you know, what am I going to say after my friend or the person I'm talking to stops talking. And so that kind of prevents me from really hearing them fully. So I try to, you know, not worry about that as much, and think about what they're saying. And then maybe even ask a question about something I heard while they were talking to me. And I find that I'll get to know that person a little bit better. You know, they'll be, and I think that's you know, kind of an encouraging thing. If you're talking with somebody and they ask you some good questions, that kind of gets things going.
It feels like, you know, over the course of our discussion so far, you've talked a lot about just the importance of listening and listening in friendships. I know that sometimes for people with disabilities, being listened to can be a struggle, because often I've heard that it feels like they're being ignored when they talk about their challenges. So has the value and the importance of listening, especially among the people you trust and cherish, changed or grown after sustaining your injury?
I'm sorry, could you say that one more time, Jasmine?
How has the importance and value of listening in your friendships and other relationships perhaps changed or grown after sustaining your injury?
Well, I think I placed a higher value on it as I've gotten older. And so I've really tried to focus on improving my listening skills. So I don't know if that has anything to do with my disability or not. I think it's just a value that I hold. And so, yeah, I'm not sure if it's related to disability. I would also add to that. I think, you know, I had a friend of mine say when we were talking about like how sometimes people will see the chair. I'm a wheelchair user. He was as well. And so you can kind of feel like you've lost your humanity a little bit, because I'm seeing through that lens of that person's in a wheelchair. So sometimes that can be a challenge to overcome. But I think, you know, if you try to talk with people and kind of get beyond that, and kind of share a little bit more about who you are, the values that you have, your interests, your sense of humor, that can dispel that a little bit.
And how would you recommend that people, you know, find these people who they share common ground with, who share their hobbies and interests? Because I know that it can be difficult to find the people that you really click with.
Well, I noticed in your intro video with ConnecTra, you know, agencies like ConnecTra, think about the adaptive sailing that happens out of Jericho Beach. I think it's the Adaptive Sailing Organizing. I think that might even be connected to the Disability Foundation. Yes.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. Spinal cord injury BC. Finding those programs where your peers are going to be engaged.
I think the Disability Foundation has several affiliate organizations. So sailing is one of them. We also have the Vancouver Adaptive Music Society. If you're a music person, ConnecTra also holds a couple of recurring classes as well. So if you sports, if you like fitness, we have weekly adaptive yoga, adaptive fitness, and also adaptive dance classes if you're more of a dance person. And what I find is that usually the people who go to those classes go to the other classes as well. So you get to know people and build community in that way. So I think that's a really great example of just, like finding those kind of programs that you're interested in and, attending regularly, connecting with the people there.
Yeah, those are all really good examples. And I know with Spinal Cord Injury BC, we have a number of online programs, and I think of one in particular. It's called Quad Life, and it happens, I believe, on the last Monday of every month, and it's online. And I've joined a number of times, and it's a group of quads that kind of are get together over Zoom and talk about quad life. And it's really great. So an hour well spent for me.
Okay. And just to clarify, by quads, you mean people with quadriplegia?
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah.
Okay. Can you also tell us more about the other programs and also about the peer program?
Yeah. So there's a number of online fitness classes throughout the week. There's a book club. I'm not going to remember all of them, Jasmine. I'm sorry. The peer program, we offer peer support. We also offer a number of programs. So throughout the summer, we've had barbecues, so people can come out, and we've just gotten back to in-person programming in 2022. So thankfully, the effects of COVID are I don't think they're over, but I think we're over the worst of it. And another example of a peer event would be I did a Nordic skiing event up in the Whistler Callahan Valley. We have an adaptive cycling program, so we can, if you're interested in trying out a bike with an electric e-assist, which I recommend, makes it a lot easier. And another example would be I'm coordinating a wheelchair maintenance. My contact information, yes, Nicole, I'll put that in the chat in a sec. Doing a wheelchair maintenance program at False Creek Community Center on October 12th. And we're going to start promoting that soon. So those are some examples. We try to do some physical activity, social, educational, and also spiritual. I'm going to put my contact information. This is my email. And my work cell.
Okay.
So both of those will work.
Thank you for sharing that. I have a couple follow-up questions about the programs you talked about. But before that, can you tell us more about the book club that you mentioned, if you know more about it? I'm a book lover. I like books. So this is a very
Okay.
personal question for me.
Okay, so I'll give you the high level overview because I haven't participated in the program, but our one of our spinal cord injury mentors, Lisa, is the coordinator of that program. And so I believe, and I'll have to make sure I'll have to contact Lisa and make sure I've given out good information. But in typical book club style, a book is selected and people will read on their own time and then connect over Zoom to discuss what the book's about and some of the themes.
Do you know what kind of books they've read in the past?
I don't, unfortunately, I don't.
Okay. Okay, that sounds good. And as for the other programs you mentioned, I know that not sure if this was at the beginning of the discussion or beforehand, but you mentioned that you had some upcoming programming around Halloween. Do you have anything to share about that and what people might look forward to if they want to join in?
Yes, I believe we're in the planning stages of doing a Halloween party, and I think it'll be in person. And I believe it will probably be centered around a kind of a trivia night. Although don't hold me to this because it's in the planning stages. But I'm pretty confident that it'll look something like that. And it'll be hosted at an establishment somewhere in the Vancouver area. And one thing I would say about these programs, that if you join Spinal Cord Injury BC, and you don't have to have a spinal cord injury to join. If you go to our website and become a member and sign up for the newsletter, you'll get all this information via email. So when we start promoting the Halloween party, that's an excellent way to get that information.
For sure.
You've also got my information, so you can contact me directly and I can get you up to speed.
All right. Thank you for letting us know about that. And if you're into even more Halloween events, ConnecTra is also hosting a Halloween trivia night that will take place the afternoon of Halloween. It'll be virtual, not in person, unlike the potential event that SciBC will be hosting. But it'll be around the same time as this event, 12 to 1, on Zoom. Fun questions, maybe or maybe not including questions about Dracula and vampires. I won't spoil anything, but you know, I like books. There's going to be questions about books on there, so you could expect that. But yeah, can you also tell us more about just your role as peer program coordinator and how just interacting with other people in the disability community has been like in that position?
Yeah, so when I was brought on, our executive director, Chris McBride, he did an excellent job of sort of laying out what the role was. And I think two important themes kind of came out. One was peer support, and the other was providing information. And Spinal Cord Injury BC have something called our info line. And so that's a number that you can call. And if you have any questions, it's the info line is staffed Monday to Friday from 9 to 5. And if for some reason you get voicemail, it's our aim to get back to people within 24 hours. We know that people with disabilities are so accustomed to having to wait to get information that we really do want to get back and provide that good information. But with regard to, and so I'll often sort of recommend people give Infoline a call or go to our website and check out our database. We've got so much information in there, good quality information that's been vetted So, you don't have to do the research. The research is kind of already been done. But as far as the peer support, I'm doing that through reach out calls. So if you're a member and you're in our database, we've got quite a number of members, so it takes me some time to work through our phone list, but I will reach out to people to see how they're doing and to see how Spinal Cord Injury BC might be able to support them in whatever way that looks like. And as I just mentioned, I'll try to create programs that people find useful or interesting, or something that they would want to take part in.
For sure. I think now would also be a good time to just open up questions in the chat, or just to the participants in general, if any of you have anything you would like to ask or any of your own experiences that you would like to share. While you're thinking of that, Peter, is there anything else that you'd like to talk about that I haven't asked you about yet?
Well, you've done such a good job asking me questions. Now I have to think for myself. Well, so I'm a big sports fan. I'm also a book lover, Jasmine. I do like to read. What do you recommend? What's a good read?
A good read. What kind of books do you like to read?
Oh, I like fiction. And I like history. I like vampires.
Oh,
I like the Anne Rice vampire books. Have you read any of those?
No, I have not.
Okay. You've got some homework to do after our session. You got to go Google search Anne Rice.
Okay.
Got some wonderful books.
I think I have a pretty diverse range in my taste of books, but a couple of my favorites, one that I'm reading right now that I'm quite liking, I believe it's translated fiction. It's Japanese literature. It's called Before the Coffee Gets Cold. And I think it's a collection of 4 short stories. There's also a sequel and another one in the making, but it's basically about, it talks about different people who go to this cafe that lets you travel back in time. The reason why it's called Before the Coffee Gets Cold is you have to be back before the coffee gets cold, because it's a cafe. I just finished reading the first short story and it was really nice. I think the language is also very accessible. I also really like the Poppy War series by R.F. Kuang. It's a historical fantasy based off of, I think, the history of China. But it's not China, it's based off that. So I think the country is called Nakan. One of my favorite, it's very intense though. It's about war. So if you don't like things that have, a very long list of trigger warnings because war is war, then that might not be the right book for you. And I think if you like things that poetic and also kind of very pretentious, I really, really love, what's it called? This Is How You Lose the Time War. I think it's like a bit of a Romeo and Juliet retelling, but I won't spoil the ending, but it is one of my favorite books. It's half of it is written in like letters. So like letters and love letters, which is like super cool. But it's very intense. So it's not the most accessible language, but if it's your style, if that's your style, I think there's a specific group of people that would really enjoy it. And my last recommendation would be Portrait of a Thief by Grace D. Lee. If you are an immigrant or a child of immigrants, it's a really, really great exploration of Chinese American identity and just what it's like being the children of immigrants and all the different experiences that come with that. It's centered around the experiences of 5 university students in the United States, and their task is to pull off like a series of art museum heists. It's a bit like Ocean's 11, but university students, but also this commentary on colonialism and Chinese American identity. It's super well written. I love it a lot, and really, really interesting characters.
What was the name of that book again?
Portrait of a Thief. I would show you, but I've returned it to the library already.
Portrait of, what was the?
A Thief.
Portrait of a Thief. Thank you.
Yes.
I'm writing all these things down. I'm going to go check that out.
I got so lost in talking about books, I forgot about the questions I was supposed to ask you. This is like a little bit of a side note, but if you do end up reading the Poppy War series, there is a point, I think, in like second or third book where one of the main characters, actually, well, I don't know if one of those would be considered a disability, but it does have some discussion on disability in the Poppy War series, because a few of the main characters sustain a couple of injuries throughout the book. If you like nonfiction, Julietta Singh has a memoir where she talks a lot about just climate change and environmental justice, but also about her experience living with a disability as well. Is there anything else that you would like to talk about the topic of navigating friendships?
I think being open, being open to meeting new people, putting yourself in the position to meet people, if that's what you're looking for. I'd like to meet some new friends.
For sure. I think meeting new people is definitely something that some people are more or less comfortable with. I know for me, it was a little tricky because I'm very much an introvert. I've been told that I've been personable, which used to be surprising to me because I can also be very quiet and shy. But I think the more that you try to put yourself out there, the more you get used to it. I think there's also, it's also very liberating in a way to meet new people, because when you meet up with old friends, yes, you have that shared history, those bonds, but it also comes with a degree of expectation. But when you meet new people, you get to be who you are in that moment, and they get to know who you are in that moment going forward.
And oftentimes, I find for myself, when I meet new people, I'm putting forward my best self, if you will. And as you were saying, I'm not bringing, there's no history, there's no, say bad habits that I have established with longtime friends. And not bad habits is probably not the right way to say it, but there's just more opportunities when you're meeting new people to kind of shape what that relationship could look like.
And if meeting new people is something that you're interested in, for all of our viewers and also all of our participants, you've talked so much about just ConnecTra programming inside BC's programming. I think that these kind of programs, especially because they include both people within the disability community and people who work or live around it, I think that's a really great way for you to start getting to know more people and build those kind of sustained friendships, because people who attend those kind of classes and events usually attend upcoming ones as well. So it's not just, a one-off thing. It's a way for you to really build those kind of long-term friendships as well.
I'm realizing as I'm sitting here that I didn't mention, I also do a coffee group once a month. So we actually meet down in the shipyard district of North Vancouver. And spinal cord injury PC have given me a small budget so I can buy everybody a coffee or a tea or a beverage or a refreshment, whatever they like. And we will sit around and connect as people living with disabilities.
Mhm. Well, I think that wraps up all of my questions for today. Is there anything else you would like to mention before we start to wrap up?
No, I don't think I have anything more to share. I don't know if anybody in the any of our participants have any comments for us. I know I've been doing a lot of talking. As I was saying, I like to do a lot of listening. So if there's anything you guys like to share, that would be great.
So we'll stay on for some more time in case any of you have any questions. Thank you everyone for attending. I'd also like to give a very big thank you to Peter. I know that if some of you saw our advertising for this event, we were hoping to have a couple more panelists with us today, but today's been a little bit complicated just because a lot of people are taking the day off due to Queen Elizabeth's passing. So thank you for being so understanding and accommodating and listening in on this discussion. I think that we've learned so much from Peter. And if any of you have any questions or would like to learn more about ConnecTra's programming, please feel free to email the Assistant Program Coordinator, Emily Chambers. I put down her email in the chat, so that's echambers@connectra.org. Again, like I said at the beginning of this event, this will be streamed to Facebook and YouTube. So if you would like to watch this discussion again, you can just head over to Facebook and YouTube and watch the video. If you'd like to check out any of our other Connect Together programming, including the adaptive fitness, chair yoga, and dance classes that I mentioned in the past, I've also included the link in the chat. So I'll stay on for a couple more minutes in case anyone has anything they'd like to say, but thank you everyone for coming. And thank you, Peter, for coming.
Thank you, Jasmine. Thanks for the invitation.
No worries. Okay. So it looks like most everyone has left. Should we call it a day?
Sure.
Okay, well, thank you, Levon, and thank you, Peter. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day.
Yeah. Take care.